Hey guys, and welcome to the Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report presented by Great Days Outdoors magazine, the first podcast to bring you the local inshore, offshore, and onshore fishing report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. We have a great show lined up this week, but first, let's hear who's making the show possible. This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report is brought to you by Great Days Outdoors magazine. Are you looking for that one-of-a-kind gift for Father's or Mother's Day? If so, head on over to greatdaysoutdoors.com and check out the best gifts for outdoorsmen 2021. We've curated a bunch of unique gift ideas to help you find an awesome gift for the outdoorsman on your list. Just head over to greatdaysoutdoors.com/best gifts for outdoorsmen to check it out. And also brought to you by Sam's Stop and Shop. Sam's Stop and Shop is your one-stop shop located at 27122 Canal Road in Orange Beach, Alabama. Sam's has a little bit of everything, including a deli, inshore, offshore, and surf fishing tackle. They also have bait, clothing, groceries, name brand sunglasses, and so much more. Sam's also has tackle experts and podcast contributors Chris Veche and Dusty Hayes on hand to answer any questions you may have about any type of local fishing and can also repair your rods and reels if necessary. Stop by and shop or call them at 251-981-4245 today. All right, folks, I am your host, Butch Thierry, and we have a great report lined up this week. We have Captain Bobby Abruscato. He's going to give us the inshore rundown, see what all this crazy rain is going to do to our fishery here. Hopefully not a whole lot. It doesn't seem like a whole lot has got up mid-state, so hopefully we won't have a huge bubble coming out of Mobile Bay and dirtying up all our waters again. Hope you guys had a great week. I did. I finally got to get out and do some sword fishing. Me and Captain Richard and a few good friends ended up getting a pretty nice one on Friday. The weather was foggy. It was a little tricky to get out, but ended up being slick and beautiful, and we were able to capitalize and take home a nice swordfish and get some nice steaks out of it. I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit later. All right, let's head on down and get our first report of the day. Let's head on down to Captain Bobby Abruscato, 18 Fishing Adventures. What you say, Captain Bobby?
All right, in the key of C, everybody, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Butch. Happy birthday to you.
I appreciate that. I need to save that and make that my ringtone. Captain Bobby singing to me.
Everybody will hang up on you.
Oh, man, I appreciate that.
That's the reason they turn my mic down all the time.
That's right. Y'all sure know how to make a person feel old, I can tell you that.
Oh, you're killing me, man. You're killing me.
Well, man, first things first, I saw where you're going to be the guest speaker at Moe's for the ACFA meeting on Thursday night.
Yep, I'm psyched up, man. That's a great group, and because of that mess last year, we kind of had to miss it, so I'm kind of psyched up to be back over there with that again. And if you've never been to one of those meetings, they're free, open to the public, and like you just mentioned, it's at Moe's downtown, and that's a great meeting place, great venue for a meeting because they have some really good IT stuff, some good screens, and there's always a good crowd there. And you can join the club if you want to. It's a great deal, but you can just come to the meeting too. So hopefully see a bunch of people out there and get to say hi. We're going to talk. I guess we'll talk probably. I always like to talk about what's coming up next, kind of what's going on, but what's coming up next. So I think that's what we'll talk about tomorrow night.
Yes, sir. Yep, like Captain Bobby was saying, that's at Moe's Barbecue on Spring Hill Avenue, and I'd get there about 6 o'clock because seats fill up fast. Get you a beverage and get you some food, and I might try to make it out for that one, man. That'd be a good one. I know we got a bunch of stuff coming up on Friday. I may have a fishing trip to go on, but hopefully I can make it out there as well. I would love to hear that. Like Captain Bobby was saying, it's a great group of guys. I know we have a lot of new listeners each week to this, so if y'all want to get out and get some good information, kind of like the same deal that we give out on the podcast. There's always really good speakers there in that ACFA. Let's talk fishing a little bit. What you been up to? Weather's been a little bit crazy, but just kind of walk us through your past week and what's been going on this week.
Well, I'll tell you, of course, the weather has been a bit of a topic, just dodging it a little bit. But when, the days that we've been getting out there, and it's been far more, we've been able to get out there far more than we've not been able to. And man, it's just been a great spring. I've been doing a lot of cork fishing, voodoo shrimp under popping corks and gulp shrimp under popping corks. That's been the deal. I haven't, even though a guy gave me some bait the other day, and I didn't notice any difference between what we were catching in quantity or quality with the bait. But it doesn't hurt to have that bait if you can get your hands on it, and they're doing a pretty good job of catching it right now. So if you like to use bait, it never hurts to carry a little bit if you can get it real easy. But, mainly we just been doing solely artificial bait fishing. And I've had the opportunity to mix some topwater fishing and some topwater trips in with those. That's another thing back during the spring that it's just killer, man. As topwater fishing in the spring and the fall, that's the time to be throwing those big old plugs. And, it's amazing the size fish that you're around sometimes that you don't realize. I've mentioned throwing those corks and things, and you're catching fish, but when you right in the middle of that, somebody's catching considerably larger fish, and that kind of tells you that even though those bigger fish are eating shrimp all the time, when they see an opportunity to eat a wounded finfish or something like that, they're going to jump all over it. So
take advantage of that.
Anyway,
Yeah,
that
makes sense. Yeah.
Been really having some fun topwater trips mixed in. The rivers have really upstate, have cleared up. Unfortunately, the bad news, I think we're getting ready to get another slug down the bay. It looks like the river stages are getting ready to go back through the roof, which, of course, that all that ends up back down here. So we're going to probably have to deal with some fresh water again, just as the bay was really starting to clear up. There's been, we've been catching a lot of trout on both sides of the sound, north and the south side, just depending on which way the wind's blowing, what the tide's doing, water levels, and that sort of thing. So all in all, it's been just, really, really a great spring. And we're going to probably talk a little bit at the ACFA meeting, a little bit about more of like late spring into a summer transition type deal, because that's what we got coming up in a month or so, probably. I hope the bay gets cleared up by then, because that really spreads out some of that structure pressure when everybody can fish through the bay and then down into the sound as well.
Oh yeah, it definitely spreads out the fish as well as the fishermen, no doubt.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right. And
both of them aren't as bunched up. Mm-hmm.
That's exactly right.
Well, you mentioned throwing a popping cork right now and a top water. Are you keying in on anything in particular? Are you keying in on a particular depth or oyster shells, or what are you targeting right now? Finding those bird schools still? Is that finding you some fish, or just what you keying in on?
All of the above. You hit on everything that I've been keying on, which the only thing you did mention in there was grass. So it's grass, shells, and you mentioned bird schools. In the probably since I talked to you last couple of 3 weeks, I've seen several groups of bird schools, of course, diving on shrimp. And that's the first sign that I've seen, so far this spring within the last couple of weeks. But this happens every year. You'll get these waves of shrimp start to come in. And that's kind of also, we just mentioned that summer transition. When the bay and the sound start up with those shrimp, that's when you really kind of go into that summertime bait pattern and structure pattern. And so I'm seeing bird schools. Not planning on seeing bird schools, but it's kind of like a little lanyap on a trip if you're running from point A to point B. And that's the bird schools I've seen, just out in the middle of nowhere. And you get upwind from them and drift into them. And man, because you've been on those bird schools before,
oh, yeah.
You get on action, and it's action like you've never seen. And the other thing is too, it's strange because you'll come up on, one group and there'll be 8 or 12-inch trout, and the next group will be 2.5 pounders. You just
Wow.
You never know what you're going to run into. We had a trip the other day, and there would have been birds diving on these shrimp, but I think the birds were afraid of the boat. We just kind of lucked into a school of trout that was on shrimp. They were chasing these bigger white shrimp around up on the surface of the water. Those were some really nice sized fish. I mean, there were some really, really nice sized fish in that school. So, don't run past those bird schools without at least making a few casts, because you can't assume that they're going to be all small fish. That's not, especially during the spring, you can't assume that they're going to be, usually after a few casts, you'll find out what's in it, but don't run past them without making a few casts.
Yeah, certainly. Do you think I know they're kind of keying in on shrimp right now, but that's kind of a transition thing. Do you think you're wasting your time throwing like a slick lure, or I never have. Do you ever throw a top water whenever you find schools like that? Are you wasting your time with a finfish imitation? Like on those birds?
No, you're not. You're not, but I can tell you what'll happen. If you think about if you throw a top water lure, when there's birds diving like that,
that's no question.
The birds will get it a lot quicker than the trout will get it. And so now you got a seagull with a lure that's got 2 or 3 treble hooks on it. So You can I'll let you kind of finish, that image right there, because you know what kind of message. Now, as far as like a slick lure, absolutely. Anything that'll get down a little bit and get away from those birds works fine. A grub, a slick lure is great, because what you'll do with that too is, even if there's, and oftentimes you'll have these bird schools that'll have mixed schools of trout in them. There'll be 10-inch trout and there'll be 3-pounders, but you start throwing that slick lure in those, or those bigger lures, and those smaller ones may or may not hit it, but the bigger ones are the ones you'll hook. So what I'm saying is, you'll weed those smaller fish out there by doing that. So yeah, I do that. We don't throw, but obviously don't throw top waters when there's gulls, and top waters don't mix real well. Actually, they do mix real well, and that's the problem.
Right, for sure. Yeah, that was a dumb question. I thought about it right after I said it, but that's all right.
No, it wasn't, because I get asked that all the time. I'm going, no top waters around gulls.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. But I do like, I know we've talked about it before, I think it's been a while, in those bird schools, it does seem like even those bigger fish are hanging down a little bit deeper. So if you can throw a jig or a slick and let it sink a little bit, I think you're right. I think you could weed out a little bit bigger fish.
And I didn't mention that, but you're right about that. Is, a lot of times, particularly when you find those bird schools in like deeper water columns, and we did find some the other day in 7 or 8 feet of water, just because I've been fishing the standard, 2.5, 3, 4 feet. We were running to another area, and we hit a school that was in 6 or 7 feet of water, 8 feet of water. And that's what happens, I think, is those bigger fish are actually below the smaller fish. Mm-hmm. So if you get into an area where you're talking about a deeper water column, that happens a lot in the Delta during the fall. We'll hit those bird schools in deeper rivers. You can throw something like a rattle trap or a jig and get underneath those smaller fish and catch those bigger fish that are in those schools.
Yep, that definitely makes sense, man. That's a great report. We got a cool Hey Cap question this week. I know we've been talking about wade fishing. That's one of our favorite things to do, and it's kind of heating up. John Clark asked, "Hey Cap, I heard y'all talking about wade fishing and beach fishing the west end of Dauphin Island for trout and pompano. We'll focus in on trout here. Maybe we can ask Scott Kennedy on the pompano question. But he asked, is what point on the island do you consider the west end? Is it the west end beach or further down? Also, which side and time of year for the trout on the Gulf side and the Sound side?"
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, technically, the people at Dauphin Island, or people from Dauphin Island, consider anything west of the water tower the west end.
Right.
So really what we're talking about is the undeveloped area where the house is in, and the west end park is. From there west is generally from an angler standpoint, the fisherman standpoint. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I agree.
There is that from the west end park, the undeveloped stretch of the island, which is about 8 miles long, and so you got a lot of real productive water when you're talking about 8 miles
on both sides. So it's really 16 miles.
Sides. Exactly. Yep. It's a lot of water that you can fish there. So first part of the answer there is that
west end.
Probably the west end park. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then as far as like the side, to me, it's always been which way the wind's blowing. If you have a northerly component in the wind, I go over on the Gulf side. If you've had a couple of days of north wind, and then if you have the south wind, which we have a lot more of this time of year and into the summer, the bay side works best. Mm-hmm. But as far as like you're trying to figure it out from there, I'm back to the 8 miles. You got 8 miles of productive water, so you got to kind of go down there and figure out, based on what you're seeing as far as slick, because anywhere from that west end park to the very west end of the island can have a bunch of fish on it, and you just got to kind of figure out, using some basic trout techniques and fish finding techniques. You mentioned birds. Not a big bird deal down there, but one of the keys down there seems to be these big droves of smaller finger mullet, mm-hmm. and you got to keep your eyes open for those. Those are really kind of a dead giveaway down there, and slicks too. Those fish on the beach, on both sides of the beach, will create slicks. So that's another thing I look for, when I'm working at, because down there, it's intimidating when you look at how much water you have to try and figure out.
For sure. We actually had a really cool Hey Cap question last week. He said, you guys always talk about an area being fishy. What do you consider fishy? So that's what, came to my mind as well, is find somewhere that looks fishy. Find some mullet pushed up on the beach, or find something. I mean, on the sound. Okay. Say we're trying to fish the Sound side from I mean, either wade fishing or from a boat, what are some things that you're looking for besides a fishy feel?
Well, the other thing too, we talk about those places down there, not just down there, but really anywhere, is big thing to me. It's the same thing as Butch. Is you have the offshore experiences. You're looking for some bottom undulation too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't want to just fish a totally flat area. You know, and so you start talking about, for example, the West End down there. You got a lot of bar systems down there. Not the kind of bars that you go to. I'm talking like sandbars.
Right.
You know, that's the one thing I really look for down there, in addition to just signs of fish. And that's not just the West End. That's like up on the north end of the Sound, the Shoals area. You know, you think about a place like the Shoals, you talk about bottom undulation. That's why that place gets so good. You know, so that's probably another big component in addition to just bait and birds and mullet, shrimp, and that sort of thing is
drop-offs, or a current ripping through the bar or something like that.
Yeah, and if you're looking at a marsh bank, for example, when you start looking at points and creek mouths and any kind of feature to the bank versus a flat, straight bank with no points, so those are the kind of things you want to be looking for when we talk about, again, I'm doing air quotes here, but fishy looking water is that type of thing right there. That's what I think of when somebody mentions that.
Yes, sir.
Is the stuff that stays put, which is the features of the bank and the bottom, and then the other stuff, which is the stuff that moves around a lot, which is the bait.
Mm-hmm. On the south side of the island, the Gulf beaches, you think those trout kind of hang on the bar, or are you throwing past the bar if you're wading, or are you throwing the trough, between the beach and the bar, or where do you think those fish like to hang out if you're throwing a top water or a slick lure or something like that? Where are you trying to be? What's your ideal strike zone?
To me, particularly the Gulf beaches, you have that secondary bar, and the places that those trout, that I catch the trout that are real productive, are in that trough between the beach and the first bar. Some of the places that if you want to really look closer at is where that beach, that second bar and the beach kind of form kind of a pinch point.
Mm-hmm.
And you, particularly if you have it on two sides, basically where it makes, and the old timers used to call them holes, where that there's a hole created between the outside, the bar, the first bar off the beach, and say 2 points that are coming off the beach, if you could picture that. And so you basically have again, I'm doing air quotes, is a hole.
Right.
And so those are the kind of places I really look for. What happens on that Gulf beach, and really on the inside beach too, it's hard to see sometimes when you're
right
looking at it right in front of it. Right. I got to kind of get parallel to the beach and look down the beach to see those kind of features I'm talking about. So that's another trick is and some of these things you'll want to do maybe after your morning fishing trip when it's slowed down, or maybe if you're out riding around with your family or friends and it's sunny and it's not particularly the best fishing part of the day. That's the kind of, when I'm doing that kind of stuff, that's a good time to do your scouting. It doesn't always have to be scouting for bait, or you don't have to have a rod in your hand to scout a lot of times. When you're talking about a lot of water like we're talking about here, if you're riding down that beach, or you're going to the beach, or you're going to go hang out at the beach, or you're just boat riding or whatever, or you're finished fishing, take some time to look for those kind of things, because I promise you, if you're going down there and doing it right, you're going to be running down that beach in the dark, and because you're going to want to be in the water, or you're going to be fishing at daybreak. So you don't want to be riding up and down the beach trying to figure out what point, what hole you want to fish.
Yeah.
Have all that stuff laid out beforehand, and do all that, do your homework beforehand that way,
Yes.
And that's a big trick to fishing that beach. I learned, the guys that taught me trout fishing took me trout fishing when I was 10 or 12 years old. That's what they would do. We didn't have electronics. We didn't have those guys didn't have bottom machines. That's how they figured that stuff out.
Right.
Dude, seriously.
Just riding around, no doubt. And I know
and now as you're riding down the beach, if you really like something, you can just put mark on your GPS.
Yep.
And you go right back to it in the dark. So
So
that's what works in those areas right there. Yep.
I mean, you can even look like I know it changes a good bit, but you can get a general feeling of it, like looking at Google Earth or something, or on a satellite maps, and you can see those points and those cuts and those bars and all.
Absolutely. And and some of those like Google Earth, I don't know how often. I mean, those things, I know those things are a little older, but man, I think they got like live or more up to date satellite shots. But even some of the like Google Earth stuff you can get now, the big features of the beaches are still the same, or very similar.
Yep, I agree.
So you could use it. You could use that where you're. Surely you wouldn't want to do it during working hours, but maybe during lunch break or whatever.
That's right.
Nobody ever checks fishing forums or stuff like that while working. I'm sure.
We wouldn't do that on the company dime, would we?
Would never do that. Yeah.
Well, that's a great Hey Cap question. We appreciate that, John. John's going to get a prize pack from the Slick Lure. John, make sure you email us at alabama@bestfishingreport.com to redeem your Slick Lures. Captain Bobby, we appreciate the report, and it's good having you on, man. I know your bookings are probably everybody's trying to get in before the summer gets in, but if folks want to get up with you and book a trip, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Just go to ateamfishing.com, which is our website, and it has our contact information on there. You can call us. Somebody almost always answers the phone, not me, but somebody will. And then the other way is the super high tech way, which is fill out our little contact us form, and it gives you the option to select your dates or pick a handful of dates, and we reply to you that way too. So those are the best ways. So that's A-Team Fishing, all one word, like the old Mr. T show, ateamfishing.com.
Awesome, buddy. We appreciate the report. And you guys head out to Moe's downtown Mobile at 6:00 on Thursday. That'll be May 7th, right? Nope, May 6th.
Hey, you ought to know what day it is. It's the day after your birthday, man.
It's my birthday. That's right. So
you're getting so old, you're forgetting what day your birthday's on.
Too busy, Captain Bobby. Too busy. Y'all go see Captain Bobby ACFA meeting May 6th at 6 p.m. Moe's downtown. We appreciate the report, Captain Bobby. Keep whacking them. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, buddy. Thanks for having me on.
All right, folks. That was another great segment. Let's take a quick break and hear for some of this week's sponsors. That segment was brought to us by Photonis Defense. Photonis Defense is proud to offer the PD Pro line of night vision systems. The PD Pro series is the world's smallest and lightest night vision goggles built around the Photonis 16mm filmless 4G image intensifier tubes and their hybrid filmless 18mm image intensifier tubes. The ultralight, ultra-compact night vision systems deliver cleanest image, best resolution, smallest, most transparent halo, and best overall performance and function of any night vision system available. The PD Pro line consists of the PD Pro M 16mm monocular, the PD Pro B 16mm binocular, and the PD Pro Q panoramic night vision system. Photonis Defense, masters of darkness. And also brought to you by Dixie Supply and Baker Metalworks. Dixie Supply and Baker Metalworks are proud to be your metal roofing headquarters for over 40 years. Save time and money by buying from the most reliable manufacturer on the Gulf Coast. Buy it today, pick it up today. They offer 20 Sherwin-Williams colors to choose from and have a 40-year warranty. Baker Metal and Dixie Supply, two names, same great service. With the addition of their new store in Cantonment, Florida, they now have 8 locations to serve you. Dixie Supply and Baker Metalworks, your metal roofing headquarters. All right, folks, let's head offshore. Let's go down to Orange Beach, Alabama. See what Captain Shane Toole's doing over at Necessity Charters out of Orange Beach. What you say, Cap?
What's happening, Butch? How are you?
I'm doing good today, man. Watching it rain. It's been heck, I don't know when it started, but it's been intense for 7 or 8 hours probably. Woke me up in the middle of the night. Y'all staying dry over there?
No, not at all. I'm ready for this to get out of here so we can get back offshore and do some fishing.
I know it, man. Weather's been tricky to get offshore. Goodness. I mean, you've been having to be sitting on go, ready to roll, and you've had a little bit of a window. If you ain't ready, you're late.
Yeah, even when you catch the window right, it's still been rough. So
yep.
Due for some calm weather.
For sure, man. We had an interesting day. I got out with Captain Richard on his offshore boat on Friday, and man, it was eerily foggy until about 12 or 1. Finally got tight on one and were able to grease a nice one with the dart. So that was fun. Got to see a little bit about what Shane Toole's world's like every day.
Yeah, that's what I live for.
That's right, man. I love it for sure. I'm definitely getting the bug. I've done it a few times now and I got my dad fired up on him. That's not good. Whenever he gets in killing mode, he wants to figure out how to do it too.
Oh yeah, it's addicting.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Well, what have you guys been up to? I know I saw some pictures of some deep critters. Kind of walk us through what you guys got into last week into the weekend.
Yeah, we took a little break from sword fishing. I had my boss down. We took him out, and he's the big fan of the deep dropping, which so am I. It's a little different. It's fun. You get a big variety of fish. You really don't know what's going to come up next.
For sure, man. So whenever you say deep dropping, you guys are focusing on what species and about what depth range, Shane?
It depends on what we're targeting. If I'm deep drop fishing with electric reels, I'm fishing 500 to 900. Sometimes I drop in 1,000 or 1,100, depending on the species I'm targeting. If I'm targeting a yellow edge grouper or a snowy grouper, we're going to be at 550 to 750. And in that depth, you're also going to catch your white snappers, or your bycatch, and we get into the long-tail sea bass, quite often in those depths.
What does your rigging look like for those, Shane? Do you change it up whenever you go from tile fish to anything different, or do you pretty much use the same rig for all those species?
I pretty much use the same rig, which I actually have an in-depth tutorial on how we rig our own deep drop rigs on our YouTube channel, Necessity Fishing.
Nice.
It's just a simple 3-hook rig with a couple glow beads added on there. It's very simple, and it's very effective.
Awesome. You guys definitely check that out. I will be checking that out as well. What about bait, man? Do you think live bait is worth it for any of those species, or are you just using something fresh and dead?
I rarely use live bait. If I'm deep dropping in some shallower stuff like 400 to 450, every now and then on a rock, I'll put down some live cigs and pick off a couple of deep water scamps. But normally not deep water. I mean, I've used it all from barracuda to cut bait, but a whole squid on a deep drop rig is bulletproof. You're going to get a lot of bycatch on that. Like I said, your white snappers, just some beeliners occasionally, and some long-tail sea bass.
That's all right, too. Those are all delicious as well.
Definitely. And if butterfly, Boston mackerel, or a big piece of bonita or something works very well for the groupers also. A little stink bait.
So you keep your 3-hook rig. I guess it's kind of hard to differentiate down there, but you don't think a 1-hook rig is better for scamp as opposed to a 3-hook rig or anything like that?
Definitely. I mean, if I'm specifically targeting scamp in that 400-foot range, which, I mean, it's not too deep for them there. We've caught a mess of them. I will go to a single hook rig with a live bait.
Gotcha.
But if I'm targeting the yellow edge and the snowies, a 3-hook rig, I mean, we'll catch doubles and triples, sometimes doing that.
Yeah, for sure. And that's fun fishing too, whenever it's on fire. I kind of struggle with what to look for as far as on your bottom machine. Are you looking for, rocks and crags, or are you looking for drop-offs or ledges? What are you looking for on your machine?
I mean, mainly when I'm grouper fishing, I'm fishing structure. A lot of guys catch some of those yellow edges and mud bottom, but I mean, I like to treat it like I'm scamp fishing. I'm fishing a rock or a drop-off or a ledge, something that's got a little fuzz on the bottom where I can see a little bit of relief. And that helps me out a lot. We've been very successful that way.
Yeah, that makes sense. Are you holding up on one specific Latin long whenever you're fishing, structure like that, or is it structure that you can kind of drift, or does it just depend?
Most of the structure I'm fishing, I'm holding up on the spot. I'm using 5 pounds of lead to keep my scope out of my line, and I'm right on it. I mean, I move the boat around just a little bit, but when I'm grouper fishing, I'm staying right on the spot.
Gotcha, man. And I know, these fast boats that everybody's kind of getting popular with, and have made that, attainable in a much shorter day. I mean, you used to have to go for a 12 or an 18 hour to get out there far enough for those scamps. But these go fast boats have really changed that game.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff I'm fishing, it's 80 miles from the house, 90 miles from the house, and that used to be a 2 to 3 day trip on our old big Resmond we had.
Yep.
We couldn't dream of doing that on a day trip.
Yep, for sure, man. I grew up in that slow life as well, so I definitely understand that. For the folks that are, I've been trying to, whenever I think about it, been kind of trying to reintroduce our contributors. What kind of boat are you running, Shane?
42-foot Freeman with quad 300 Mercuries on the back.
Golly, that's a lot of horsepower, man. You got a tower on that thing too, don't you?
Yeah, we got a tower. We use that, and we do a little bit of blue marlin and tuna fishing. And when the cobias ever show up, we use it for that too.
Nice. I saw where Joe got into a couple cobias Saturday over there off of Destin, so that was cool to see.
Yeah, they had a good little push come through the lake, so that was awesome.
Yeah,
glad somebody got to catch some.
everybody's been talking about, that's the big topic, where those fish are going and all that. And who knows on that, but it's good to see a few fish being caught, right off the beach with that sight fishing game that people enjoy so much.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Captain Shane, man, we appreciate the offshore report. Hope you guys can get out there and chase some marlin and some tuna soon. If folks want to get up with you and book a trip, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
You can go send me a message on Facebook, Necessity Deep Sea Fishing Orange Beach, or you can give us a call at 251-255-7400.
Awesome. You guys check Captain Shane out for all your offshore needs, man. Like I said, we appreciate the report, and we look forward to hearing from you next time.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
All right, guys, that wraps up another great segment. Let's take a quick break, and you guys check out this week's segment sponsors. That segment was brought to us by B&M Pole Company. B&M Pole Company is the leading manufacturer of crappie poles in the world today. Their product line has evolved to include top quality gear for anglers who fish more than just for panfish, including their Sam Super Salt series designed for shallow water fishing for trout and redfish. These rods will deliver everything you need to catch these inshore fish at a great price. The genuine Portuguese cork handle feels great in your hand, and the exposed blank and touch system will add unbelievable sensitivity. Stainless guides are durable and flow smoothly. Check out their whole lineup at bnmpoles.com. Also brought to us by Flora Bama Fishing Rodeo. The Flora Bama Fishing Rodeo is an annual fishing tournament held at Flora Bama Old River Grill. It's coined the Gulf Coast's funnest fishing tournament. This rodeo is fun for all ages. From kids to adults, there are more than 30 categories of fish, additional competitive divisions, low entry fees, and tons of prizes. Fishing Rodeo focuses on bringing families together for a fun weekend of fishing on the Gulf Coast. This will be June 11th and 12th, 2021. And also brought to you by Hilton's Offshore Charts. Hilton's Offshore Charts. The days of heading out and blindly looking for good fishing areas are pretty much over. Don't waste time and money on fuel searching for fish. You need the most recent, highest resolution images to not only know where to go, but where not to go. The knowledge provided by today's technology is critical when planning an offshore fishing trip. Make the choice that professional captains all over the Gulf make and choose Hilton's Real-Time Navigator. The easy-to-use interface and excellent customer service will have you on the fish every time you go. Check them out at hiltonsoffshore.com. All right, let's head on down to our last report of this podcast. Let's head on down to Orange Beach, Fort Morgan, Gulf Shores area, and see what Captain Scott Kennedy's been chasing with Whistling Waters Kayak Fishing and Outdoors. How we doing, Captain Scott?
Doing great, Butch. How you doing?
Doing good, man. Good to have you back on. Staying dry today. I think the weather's kind of out of here now, but this morning was pretty intense. Hope you were in the kayak or on the beach this morning.
No, definitely not. I decided it was a good morning to stay at the house and get some things lined up, getting ready for the tail end of the week. Because there was definitely some light shows going on this morning with all the lightning.
Ooh, man, that was definitely a fire show over here in Foul River area. I was hunkered down in my office. Lights were flickering on and off, and hoping I wasn't going to lose all my internet and all, so I could get some work. I know the feeling, but it looks nice now, man. It looks nice going into the weekend. Looks like the temperatures are going to cool down a little bit, so that makes me happy. Probably not you so much with your feet in the sand and your seat, your butt in the seat of a kayak, but I like this extended spring, man. It makes me happy.
Oh, I tell you, I think I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum of you there. I'm ready for it to get hot. I'm ready for those steamy, hot summer days.
You're a lot skinnier than me, Scott. I got some fluffy season to get off before I can even think about 120-degree heat, Cap. I can tell you that.
No.
Well, what you been up to, man? You've been kayaking, you've been surf fishing. What you been doing this weekend and this week?
I tell you, we've done a little bit of everything with the weather we've had these past few days, all the pop-up thunderstorms and everything. It's definitely been mostly surf fishing for us, but we've gotten out in the kayak a few times. But the pompano, the whiting, everything else has definitely picked up the slack for us this week.
All right, Scott, and the surf, man, just kind of walk us through kind of what you've been doing the past week. What's your setup and what you've been using for bait and what you've been catching.
Yeah, so this week, we've just been running our traditional pompano rigs, just doing the double drop rigs. I have been kind of, leaning towards the side of brighter colors, especially the past couple of days with the waves churning as much as they are. The water definitely has gotten dingy, so something bright. I've been using a lot of real bright chartreuse, kind of that blaze orange color.
Yeah, something just to stand out.
Yep, something that'll really catch their eye. But on top of that, I've just been putting, some pieces of fresh shrimp, freshest shrimp you can get. That's always been my big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, on top of the fresh shrimp, I'll usually tip it with a piece of Fishbite. My color of choice this week has definitely been the orange and white sand flea.
Nice.
That is, for the past 2 or 3 years, that has been my go-to color. But we've done good. I've caught some on, just kind of the green Fishbites has done real good. And of course, the pink shrimp, that's done real good too. So kind of back towards what I was saying as far as the rigs, the brighter, the flashier the color, I think is definitely better right now. Things could change this weekend. I think the surf's supposed to lay down to less than 2 feet. So if that water does clean up, you may want to try to go to something a little more subtle. Definitely bright color on the rig and bright color on the Fishbites has been my go-to this week.
So you believe in floats for whiting and pompano, or just pompano?
Usually just the pompano. So what I do on my whiting rigs is I'll usually run real light mono leader, generally no more than about 15-pound leader. And I'll just use a single bead, whether it be just an orange bead or like a green bead, but no float. And I think kind of you look at the whiting when you look at their mouth and everything, it's like a redfish. Their mouth is positioned on the bottom of their face. That kind of leads you to believe they're primarily a bottom feeder, and watching them hang out in these holes kind of leads to that. I think with that float, you're floating it up a little bit higher than where they are. Not to say that they won't come up and eat a float, but I've definitely noticed a little quicker bite and a little more action, just running just a regular bead on it.
Yeah, that makes sense. You got to stay in their strike zone. You got to stay where they feed for sure. That's the point. It's kind of the point. So that makes a lot of sense.
Exactly.
So forgive my surf fishing ignorance. As the water gets more clear over there, do you change anything up as far as pompano floats, or do you keep them on there whenever the water gets super clear?
As it clears up, I start to go to, more subtle colors. So like I said, right now, water's dingy. I'm throwing real bright colors. As that water starts to clean up, I'll maybe switch. I don't run quite as many orange floats. I'll stick to, chartreuse or just kind of a darker green color and a white float. And then if that water gets crystal clear, especially like you find more towards the east, like you'll find around Perdido Key, Orange Beach, even into, Pensacola. When I get in that real clean water, I'll drop it down to, I'll use a lot of pinks. I've noticed pink does real good in the clean water. And even just a plain white float, something that, it still puts some flash and stuff in that clean water, but it's not
super natural,
flashy.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. I've noticed the more natural you get in that clean water, usually works out better for you.
No doubt. I definitely agree with that. That's a great tip in itself, man. All right. Well, that brings us to our tip. What do you think for a surf fishing tip this week?
As far as my tip this week, with things getting closer to summer, especially, a lot more people coming down, visiting the area. There's definitely a lot of people fishing on the beach right now. And then, there's a lot of people hanging out on the beach. So the best tip I can give you this week and moving on further into May, go very light on your gear. Bring, maybe half the rods you would normally do. Only bring the tackle you'll think you need. Don't be like I normally am. I'm normally a guy that likes to bring everything but the kitchen sink.
Loaded down.
Yep. Go a little lighter, because more than likely you are going to have to walk a ways down the beach. I'm thinking back 2 days ago, we fished an afternoon, which, it was an afternoon, so everybody had time to get to the beach and stuff before we got there. But we had to walk nearly half a mile down the beach before we could get a clear area away from other fishermen, away from swimmers and everything. Definitely had to do some walking. Every bit of gear you put with you on that soft sand, you feel every pound of it. So you definitely want to go light. Yep. Go light and be prepared to walk. So that's my tip for the week.
That's a great tip, man. We appreciate the tip in the report. I've been trying to we have so many new listeners and so many folks that are just now finding the show. So you are Whistling Waters, Kayak Fishing and Outdoors on Facebook. You guys make sure and check out Captain Scott. What all do you guys do, Cap Scott?
Yeah, so we do kind of offer a little bit of everything. So we do, of course, we do the surf fishing charters. If you're wanting to get out and do some pompano fishing, do some whiting fish or anything, we do that. I offer wade fishing trips. So if you're interested in kind of getting out, learning how to wade fish for some of these speckled trout, redfish, Spanish mackerel stuff, as the water continues to heat up and they show up, kind of do trips on that where you show you, what I look for, what I use, get on a few fish throughout the morning. And also do, of course, the namesake, we do kayak fishing, inshore kayak fishing. If the weather allows it, we do some of that near shore stuff out in the Gulf. Also do just nature tours. If you just want to get out, see some stuff from a kayak, see some stuff you normally would bypass on a, on a power boat or something, we do all that as well. So kind of a one-stop shop for everything you want to do on the water.
Yeah, heck yeah, man. You guys make sure and give Captain Scott a look. What's the best way to get in touch with you if folks want to get up with you and book a trip, Captain Scott?
Yeah, so the best way to get a hold of me is to either, call me or text me at 251-408-2604, or you can check me out on the Fishing Chaos app. I'm on there as Whistling Waters Outdoors.
Awesome, man. We appreciate the report, and we look forward to hearing from you next time, buddy. Be safe out there. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, talk to you later, Butch.
Well, that's another awesome report, and it was brought to us by Foster Contracting, Fortified Roofing Pros. The recent thunderstorms that have been producing wind and hail in the area may have damaged your home's roof. The certified roofing pros at Foster Contracting offer free roof inspections, and if your roof has received damage, most homeowners will have little or no cost out of pocket when going through your insurance. If you're looking for quality construction with a dependable, licensed, and certified fortified roofing professional, give the Fortified Roofing Pros a call at 251-973-9999. They're a family-owned business that is big enough to get the job done, but small enough to care. Remember to support the local businesses that make your local podcast possible, and check them out at fortifiedroofingpros.com. And also brought to you by KillerDock. As anglers, we put a lot of time, money, and passion into fishing, but most of us do not have a fish cleaning station that we are proud of. Many of us are suffering from dock dysfunction. A rotten table with rusty metal, this is just no good. But the dock enhancement that we've all been waiting for is finally here. KillerDock uses marine-grade aluminum to make fabulous fish cleaning tables and stunning canopies that will keep us out of the sun. KillerDock combines durability, function, and design to uniquely upgrade your entire dock experience. Visit KillerDock.com to see more. We got to do What Did You Learn before we get out of here today, and I just really enjoyed picking the guys' brains today. It's always good to hear from the different captains and what they've been up to and their different points of view and just the way they do things differently sometimes. I really enjoyed picking Captain Scott's brain about surf fishing. That's something that I'm not very good at. I'm always trying to learn, like my question about the floats with water clarity and how he tries to go more natural whenever the water gets more clear. And that definitely makes sense in my little brain. I also really enjoyed and learned some things from Captain Shane Toole over at Necessity in Orange Beach. He was talking about deep dropping for grouper. That's also something that I've never really done a whole lot. I get kind of bored with it. I get a little bit bored dropping down in that deep old water, but it's fun and I'm getting into it more. I'm trying to figure it out. So I enjoyed picking his brain on what type of baits that he likes to use. And I also picked up that a 3-hook rig is not necessarily what you need to be fishing for scamp with. It's much better to do a 1-hook rig. I didn't ask him exactly specifically if he likes, an egg weight and then the leader, kind of like a sow rig, or what we like to do with those grouper is do a fish finder rig, do like a 3-way swivel, do your, 1 3-way to your main line, and then do your leader, probably a 4-foot leader, 3 or 4 foot leader with your hook and your bait on it. And then another 6 or 8 inch leader with your weight on it, what we call a fish finder rig. So I definitely enjoyed picking those guys' brain on that stuff today. This week's What'd You Learn sponsor is Fishbites. Are you tired of scrambling for bait whenever you decide to go fishing? Have an artificial bait that's better than live bait ready to go at a moment's notice with Fishbites. It's easy to pack and travel with, and it's also shelf stable, and not to mention tough. With Fishbites, the bait stays on the hook and the fish stay on the bait. Check out the full line of scented saltwater, freshwater, and tackle at fishbites.com. And also CCA Alabama. A great way to support conservation projects like the Club Petite Flounder and Speckled Trout Hatchery in the University of South Alabama Cobia Tagging Project is through the purchase of a distinctive CCA Alabama saltwater fishing license plate. All right, guys, that's another great Alabama saltwater fishing report. You guys, please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like us to email you the podcast each week, just text the word fishing to 314-665-1767. Again, just text fishing to 314-665-1767 to subscribe to our email list, and we'll send you the new show each week. You guys keep whacking them. We'll see y'all next week. This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report was brought to you by Advanced Transmission in Spanish Fort. Give the professionals a call who have been trusted on the Gulf Coast for over 25 years at 251-626-6061 or check them out online at www.advanced-transmission.com. And also brought to you by the Alabama Marine Resources Division. The Alabama Marine Resources Division reminds all recreational anglers that gray triggerfish, greater amberjack, or red snapper must be reported through Snapper Check prior to landing the fish in Alabama. For more information about Snapper Check, please visit outdooralabama.com. And also brought to you by Daycool Heating and Air. The pros at Daycool have been servicing Mobile and Baldwin counties for over a decade. Contact them at 251-633-5121 or check them out online at www.daycoolair.com. They are license number AL07028.
This week's Saltwater Fishing Report is brought to you by Angelo Depaola, the Coastal Connection with eXp Realty, your boating and beach property specialist. Check me out on Facebook at Angelo Depaola Realtor, the Coastal Connection, or call me direct at 850-287-3440.
And also brought to you by Test Calibration. Test Calibration is your source for sales and service of diesel turbochargers and fuel injection systems since 1976. Contact them at 800-822-0057 or visit them online at testcalibratindieselandturbo.com. And also brought to you by KillerDock. KillerDock uses marine-grade aluminum to make fabulous fish cleaning tables and stunning canopies that will keep us out of the sun. KillerDock combines durability, function, and design to uniquely upgrade your entire dock experience. Visit KillerDock.com to see more. And also SunSouth. For quality John Deere equipment affordably priced, visit your neighbors at SunSouth. Visit your local SunSouth and check them out on the web at www.sunsouth.com.